I'm now 32, but when I was younger, about 20, I worked in an assisted living home in rural Minnesota. I enjoyed the job and helping the elderly. Once I discovered that I enjoyed the job, I had planned to further my career in nursing. In this assisted living building, I worked overnights as it fit well with my college schedule. I was the only younger person on the night shift, working alongside people in their mid-30s and up. I learned a lot from these people, heard scary stories of their experiences, and made a few friends that I have today. One night whilst working, there I was, scheduled on the third floor, where there were about 15 residents at the time. I had gotten to know all of them, and was rather close to a few. One lady, who we'll call Judy, was my absolute favorite. We'd spend hours talking when she'd be awake at night, unable to fall asleep. Judy was in her 80s and in good shape. This particular night, Judy rang me to her room to receive help fixing her TV. After tightening the cables on the back of her TV, we sat and talked for a good 20 minutes. She told me how she planned to walk to the nearby park in the morning following. Something she did every morning. She'd walk to the park with a bag of bread, sit on the benches next to the water, and feed the geese. After a while of talking, I told her that I had to go to do my rounds and that I'd see her the next night. We said our goodbyes, and as I was leaving the room, she said, "Alicia, you're a good kid." I smiled and went on to do my rounds. A few hours later, my coworkers and I decided to go outside to smoke around 4:30 a.m. We sat outside in the 40-degree cold weather and smoked and chit-chatted. As we sat there, we noticed an older lady walking down the sidewalk away from the building. I thought she looked familiar, and I realized who it was when I saw the bag of bread she was carrying. "That's pretty early for Judy, don't you think?" my coworker said. "I guess so," I replied. We laughed and continued smoking. Then, our pager started buzzing all at once, and we rushed inside. When we met the coworker who paged, they had a distinct sad look on their face. They hugged me for a good 30 seconds. The whole time I was confused. This coworker knew my family, so I was worried that something may have happened. Confused as ever, I followed them to the elevator and up to the third floor. My heart fell as they led me to Judy's room. I heard sirens in the background and immediately knew it wasn't going to be good. To my shock, it was Judy, lying lifeless in her bed. My coworkers and I glanced at each other, astonished. I felt a mixture of sadness and confusion. Hadn't we just seen Judy, walking in the direction of the park she frequently visited? I know I wasn't crazy, because my coworkers saw her too. We never brought it up again, as scary as it was, and just decided that Judy was doing the thing she loved to the night she passed, walking to the park to feed the geese. I'm 24, working in a retail store that sells electronics. I'm a small female, only 4'11" and 81 pounds. I was left alone to work the closing shift. The store closed at 9. I was alone counting the cash in the till at 8:45 p.m. when an older man who looked to be in his mid-30s came in. He was very tall, I'm guessing about 6'2". He asked me for an old-school TV antenna that goes on rooftops. Those are stored in the back room. I told him, "Yes, sir. I'll be right back." I go into the storage room and climb a large A-frame ladder to get the long box containing the antenna. While I was at the top of the ladder getting the long box with the antenna in it, the man came into the storeroom and locked the door behind him. He gave me a creepy grin that screamed, "I got you now." His eyes showed malice intentions. You'd think I'd be scared, right? Well, I wasn't. He stood in front of the door, blocking my way out. I had the large, long box in my hands while atop the ladder. I yelled, "Sir, if you don't move away and walk out that door now, I will smash your face with this antenna." I meant it. The box was broken at the top, allowing the sharp, pointy part of the antenna to stick out facing the man with malicious intentions. At the height of 10 feet atop the ladder, I could easily impale his face with gravity and the law of inertia on my side. I'm a smart and feisty little lady. The threat worked. He left the storage room and ran out of the store. I locked the store doors and called my manager from my phone. He asked if I'm okay, and I explained what I did. My manager is a huge, sweet old man in his 50s. He's a father to grown kids whom are my age. He treats me like I'm one of his daughters. He was proud of the way I handled the malicious man and asked me if he needed him to come to the store. I said thank you. It's not necessary. I'm quite okay. Mr. Malicious Creeper Man, never come into my store again. I'm armed as well, with something more dangerous than an antenna. Don't mess with little ladies. We might just be your worst nightmare. Many years ago, I used to work night shift at a hotel in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. During the season, it wasn't so bad, mostly families and stuff. We had on-site security then too. However, in the off-season, the winter months were different. The cheap weekly rates we'd offer attracted a lot of creepy people. The idea was supposed to be to make money in the off-season by renting to what is known as snowbirds, older retired people who come to the beach for a month or more through the winter. I did not always work out that way though. The cheap rates made it possible for a less than desirable element to become a long-term resident. I've discovered more than my fair share of meth labs, broken up physical assaults, and more during the winter months. Working third shift, I would meet some interesting people. The cold weather would mean some homeless people would come in and get warm and grab a cup of free coffee. I wasn't supposed to let them, but it's not in me to be cruel. I would let them grab a coffee and get warm for a minute, as long as they didn't cause trouble. As you can see, night shift in the winter made for some crazy and sometimes creepy stories. I have a lot, but this one is the one that stands out because it didn't end well for me. I had a great night up until this point. I had gone to an indie wrestling show with my best friend before work. In fact, I had agreed to come in an hour early the next night for the young lady that worked second shift, in exchange for her working an hour late for me on this night, so I could enjoy the wrestling show. Ironically enough, I met Terry Funk that night, a wrestling legend known for his hardcore and bloody matches. Little did I know, I was about to experience this kind of violence for real. I was supposed to be there at midnight due to her working over an hour for me. I normally came in at 11. I counted the register, and she briefed me on her shift as to what had happened as per usual. As she was leaving, my friend, we'll call him Andrew, pulled up. He works second shift maintenance at this hotel, and the other two hotels are company owned. He would regularly stop by after work and go grab us some food, and we would play World of Warcraft on our laptops after eating for a while, since business was slow. He was just getting my money, an order for food, and getting ready to leave. I was excited, telling him about how much fun I had at the wrestling show, and was showing him my Terry Funk t-shirt. I was so proud of it. I was just walking into the back office to put the shirt up when I heard the doorbell indicating a customer had entered. It is true what they say, ask not for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. I had turned around when I heard someone say something loudly, but I still couldn't make out what they had said. I had just reached the doorway when I saw Andrew just fall down in front of me. The next thing I know, a guy walks around the corner and punches me in the head with a short steel pipe in his hand. It staggered me, and I went to one knee. The next thing I know, he hits me in the head with the pipe. Then I hear the other guy, who I hadn't noticed till this moment, say he got away and got a cop. They left at the door. I was finally able to get to my feet. I tried to call the police from the phone in the back office, but it was having issues. I slammed it down in frustration. I was hurting and scared. I was really freaking out. I realized that they could come back, so I ran and locked the door. I didn't know where Andrew had gone, and that worried me. I called 911 about this time. Blood had started pouring down my head. I told the operator I had been attacked and needed an officer and ambulance. I then called the other hotel we ran to let the night manager, Travis, who was over all 3 properties, know what had happened. He thought I was messing with him at first, because when we get bored, we would prank call each other. I finally convinced him I was not joking. He was going to lock up and come down. The cops and ambulance pulled up, and I opened the door. It was at this time I found out after they sucker punched me and had knocked him down. Andrew was able to amazingly jump over the desk and escape just as a cop was driving by, which he ran to flag down for help. I ended up in the hospital, ER, where I had to have 10 staples in my scalp, and they gave me morphine for the pain. I had no way to get home after being treated, but the doctor and nurse took pity on me and paid for a cab. My plan was to go back to work, because this was December and Christmas was coming. I had 3 kids and needed all the hours I could get. When I got back to the hotel, the IT guy Ted was there with his wife Barbara, who also worked the front desk. She was shocked to see me. She thought I would still be in the hospital. I thought I had only been hit in the head once after being punched, but the video which Ted was pulling for the police showed a different story. After I went to one knee, the guy had hit me not just one time, but 10 total times. I kept trying to grab the pipe and get up for some reason. I don't remember that. I guess I was out on my feet. He kept punching me and hitting me with the pipe, till his friend tells him Andrew got away and then got the cops. The 2 of them then run out. I was given a room at the other hotel my company owned because they don't want me to go back to work, and Ted and Barbara gave me a lift there as I was in no condition to drive due to the morphine. They also gave me a paid week off to heal. They switched me over to the other hotel on night shift for a month, just in case they were after me in particular. We never found out why they chose to attack me. The police thought it might be a failed strong-arm robbery, due to Andrew getting away and me not just going down. It shook me up though, not knowing. Even though I was at our other hotel, when I came back to work, night shift, I was still nervous. Every time the door chimed, I tensed up. I couldn't afford to quit though. As I said, I had 3 kids I was supporting. They never caught the guys as far as I know. The detective stopped by about 2 months later when I was working second shift. He showed me several mugshots and asked me if any of them looked familiar. I never got a great look at them, as it all happened so fast. I had seen the video, which wasn't the best quality. Even so, 2 of them looked very familiar. I pointed them out, and he asked me how sure I was. I told him honestly, like 85%. He then yelled and asked me if I wanted someone to go to jail for attempted murder on 85%. I was stunned into silence. I was the victim. I was attacked for no reason, and he is yelling at me like it's my fault. I was too busy being attacked to get a good look at them. I no longer work at a hotel and night shift, and I'm glad, because it is just too dangerous in this area.